we've been able to help over 15,000 people find the solutions that they need. And then we ask people to tell us how they rated those solutions. Were they helpful on a 5.0 scale? And we get a solid 4.9 ranking, and then what we do is helpful. That's pretty darn good.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sexual Assault Survivor Stories, the SASS podcast. Thank you for joining me. This podcast is a safe space for victims and survivors of rape and sexual assault to share their stories and connect with others who've been through similar experiences. I believe that sharing our stories is an important step to healing, and my hope is that the SASS podcast will help victims and survivors feel less alone and more empowered. I'm your host, Dave Markel, coming to you from the Podvlog studio in St. George, Utah, and I'm here each week to provide a platform for victims and survivors to tell their story and for experts and professionals to offer insights and information to help us all in our healing path and provide an education on being trauma-informed in order to bring justice to victims and survivors of rape and sexual assault. If you or someone close to you has been through the difficult experience of being a victim or survivor, or if your responsibilities involve understanding, supporting, or helping individuals who have experienced the trauma of rape or sexual assault, I urge you to consider subscribing and tuning into this podcast regularly. It's essential to recognize that you are not alone in this journey. There is a community here that cares deeply about your well-being. My goal is to provide you with insights, resources, and a supportive space where empathy, compassion, and understanding thrive. Your experiences matter, and my commitment is to being there for all my listeners every step of the way. Thank you again for joining me. Hey everyone, welcome back to Sexual Assault Survivor Stories, the SASS podcast. This is episode 45, and I couldn't be happier to have for the second time on this show my amazing guest, Caroline Markel Hammond. Caroline is the founder and CEO of Safe in Harm's Way and Epizon Strategy Solutions, both of which are Kansas City-based nonprofits organized to provide a gamut of services to victims and survivors of interpersonal violence through a number of resources, as well as business ideas that are multifaceted, yet still have the vein of helping victims and survivors obtain justice. You may have heard Caroline's previous episode. It's episode 19 from the 14th of February this year, in which Caroline shared her harrowing story of being drugged and trafficked by her intimate partner. She escaped from that horror, and after being homeless for a time, became a best-selling author and started Safe in Harm's Way and Epizon Strategy Solutions. You can read more about Caroline's phenomenal accomplishments, and there are many, at safeinharmsway.org. Last week, Caroline contacted me via text and suggested we get caught up with what we're each doing, and I suggested that we turn that conversation into an episode for this show as the promised follow-up to her last appearance, and Caroline graciously agreed. This episode is a little bit more lighthearted than her last, but still chock full of fantastic information that you will not want to miss. Let's just get to it, and I'll catch you on the other side. Here's Caroline. Caroline Markel Hammond, it is so great to have you back. Thanks for joining me.
You know what, Dave? Every time I get to connect with you is a pleasure. I believe I told you I have a list of people I keep on the docket in a snooze form to remind me, because life gets busy and there are people that I just hold so close to my heart that I don't ever want to look up and 6 months have passed. So trying to be really diligent, making sure I do the random reach out that's coordinated by the snooze button on my email.
I feel like I'm an A-lister on your list. So I'm like, wow,
you are.
That's impressive. I'm very honored. Thank you so much.
If I was hosting a VIP event, you'd get red carpet access.
I feel the same way about you. I don't have to put you on a reminder because I look for your social media posts all the time and see you and am reminded of you. And it's fun to text you every now and then and just say, hi, how are you doing? And even if you don't have the time right away to respond, I know eventually you will. And you've been checking in with me too. It's been great. You're just an amazing person. That's all there is to it. And I got to tell you, my audience won't know this. We do these by Zoom, but I never post the video. You are looking fine. I got to tell you, you look great. I'm wondering if that sabbatical or little break that you took had something to do with that.
It had a lot to do with it. It was an amazing opportunity to really slow down. I believe it was my body's way of reacting. So I landed in Napa and I spent a month in Napa. Within 24 hours, I came down with some kind of, wasn't COVID, my whole body ached. All I could do was sleep. All I could do was sweat. It was as if my body was exhaling 53 years of go, 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 go. It made me a little bit worried because I'm in a new city and I was sick and I had made friends with my landlord and she and I had made all these hit the ground running plans, none of which could happen. It just really forced me to stop. I took so much time in that, read a bunch, wrote a bunch, you mentioned social media, automated all of it. And so that's part of me keeping up is I set it to automate and then I don't look at it. So I need to be better about actually going in and interacting. Apparently that's a thing. But for the sabbatical, I ate great food. I joined a hot yoga class and I did hot yoga every day, sometimes twice a day. I walked every day. I took cooking classes and met the most amazing woman named Janet, who under Arnold Schwarzenegger ran the entire California fire department. And she was this amazing woman who introduced me to all her friends and had a party for me so I could meet all her friends. And I just kept meeting people and had a lovely time. That started more yoga when I got back. It started eating right. I'm in Napa, so I did visit a couple wineries. Really, my effort to stop drinking started then because I wasn't doing that every day. And I'm down about 15 pounds. I've got a few more to go. I feel like my skin is alive. I'm sleeping through the night unaided for the first time in I don't know how long. So it's just really been this peaceful transitions back. This is my to-do list. I don't even know after 54 years what a normal to-do list is. I've just been adding a couple items a day. Do I get 2 items done? Because my normal is working from 7 a.m. until 1 o'clock in the morning, sleeping, getting up, repeat. So I don't know what's doable in a normal thing when you're not running all the time. So figuring out still what's a good amount of a to-do list and just really sticking to it, making time to pause, I'm a big believer in a big, tall glass of ice water and putting your naked feet in the grass and just doing that consistently.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I got to tell you, you are the textbook case study for Bessel van der Kolk. Talk about the body keeping the score and you getting immediately ill and feeling like you felt. You're right. It's just that pent up trauma and stress and everything that had been building up. Sounds like just kind of all came out at once.
Exactly. And it was nice to get over. It took about 3 or 4 days. Instacart became my friend and I just started getting deliveries and it just evolved into something really wonderful.
Wow. Well, I got to tell you, you are glowing. You really look young and vibrant and happy and great.
Thank you. I'm really good at now acknowledging that because when I first came back, I got that a lot. I was like, I didn't even know how to say thank you till you look good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you. I feel good.
I'm really happy for that. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you for your kindness and your investment in saying that for me. Thank you.
Well, just telling you the truth. I'm really happy for you and glad you got to do that too.
Yeah.
Some self-care like that is so important. I think people discount how vitally important to your body and your mind and your soul. It's good stuff. Glad you did it.
It was, me too. And, I've been saving it in an envelope off and on for 7 years. So it turns out if you get extra change or you got out 60 from the ATM, you only spent 40 and you pop a $20 bill in there, that adds up over time. I didn't have an official bank account. So I put it in an envelope and then I would forget about the envelope and I'd find it at a soccer. I'm like, oh, my envelope. I'd add more money. And it just was a cycle that went on for 7 years. And it was enough to take an entire month off. And it was wonderful.
That's really great.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a few questions since it's been about 6 months since we had our last episode, which was a very heavy episode, by the way. I'd like to make this one much lighter. Tell us how things are going at Safe in Harm's Way. What's cooking? Do you have any great behind-the-scenes stories you can tell us about what's coming up or how things are going?
I do. Part of the sabbatical was realizing that for us, 2023 was going to be a foundational year. And by that, I mean, we grew so quickly, so fast that my head was spinning. Our financials, which anybody can look up, we think we started off with about maybe $15,000 of donations. That was in 2019. In 2020, I built that to over $1 million. In 2021, I built it to over $2.5 million.
Wow.
And in 2022, it was $3.75 million.
Caroline, congratulations. That is so impressive.
Yeah, we'll make $4 million this year. That all goes back to the services, and it seems like a lot. The big part of it is in-kind donations that corporations who believe in us pledge for our campaigns. I build the campaigns, I write the content, I give that to our marketing agency. They make it sparkle and shine and add their own flavor, far exceeding my ability and wildest imaginations. And then the corporations donate their time and talent and treasure to us in the form of being able to put that across the country. And because I'm a data-driven geek, we work with a company called Neon, which is in Times Square in New York. It's down the street from there. Mm-hmm. And they are funded by IPG Health, which is an international company with about 25 different corporations underneath its umbrella, one of which is Neon. So Neon is our advertising agency that helps track the data, and then together we create a beautiful picture. So I always set goals, and then I assess the metrics of whether or not we are meeting or exceeding those goals. And the time and talent it takes to put it all together is the outcome that we get from the collaboration with fine folks like Neon. So we grew so fast that 2023 came on like, I'm not doing anything. Nothing but policy, nothing about what's our hiring processes, what's our board policy look like, what does it look like for our diversity, equity, and inclusion, what does it look like for ensuring that we have everything in place for the people who share their stories. All of those things are there. They're not to what I would like as specifications, so we're going to shore those up. Then along came Ohana Week. And Ohana Link is a great app. They have a division called Ohana Link Purple. Now, Ohana Link Purple is an app that survivors can get. And so it acts as a conduit between when they are in shelter and when they need to communicate with the shelter team. Keeps them from having to repeat their story over and over and over. Great. So it's a continuum of care. And Ohana Link approached us. We've been having multiple conversations about it, and we are going to be their resource provider on the Ohana Link Purple app. Safe and Harm's Way content will be featured on the Ohana Link Purple app, which means that if people are in shelter, they have access to a whole wide range of different ways of healing. That allows us to take the part I'm most proud of, which is ensuring the most marginalized, historically marginalized people facing the biggest disparities in economics, transportation, mobility, and access to care have free or low-cost services in a trauma-informed way that allows them, their children, and their pets to find safety and healing. We're going to launch with Ohana Link, and by the time this comes to pass, we will officially be launching on the 14th with Ohana Link. And it's a direct link also, not only for people who have the resources, but to share their story. So if there is somebody who wants to share what happened to them in the written form, eventually we'll segue into, I want to be very diligent in how we do this, because post-secondary abuse in the form of court systems is something I do not want to bring into someone telling their story. So a lot of it will be anonymous, but they have a mechanism to feel less alone by sharing their own story, and in turn, anybody who reads it will feel less alone in their own journey by reading somebody else's, what they went through and how they dealt with it. Yeah. We're launching with Ohana Link Purple, and then we have a 4th billboard campaign that will go out by the end of the year. The biggest thing, which I cannot tell you all of the particulars about, I will just say that the war on women's health care has a direct tie to domestic violence.
Yes.
And we are going to be disrupting complacency in a way that I could never have imagined and dreamed, but is perfectly aligned with my previous pharma experience, selling to OBGYN offices, that's a little hint, and working with people across the country to bring the services of Safe and Harm's Way to the people who need it most. Because turns out, in our beloved United States of America, the number one way that women will die in pregnancy is being killed at the hands of their baby's father. Number one way, at 2 times higher the rate of any placenta or blood-borne products. We've got an issue, and Safe and Harm's Way is going directly to take that issue on. So that was nothing for my 2023, Dave. That's what it turns out nothing looks like when I decide to just work on policy.
That sounds like an amazing link for victims and survivors. I'm kind of overwhelmed by what you've just said. It's a lot to take in what you've just described, but what a great concept and idea for victims and survivors to have that availability of keeping in touch and having that support right there in the palm of their hand, it sounds like, right?
Exactly. And it's got the people at Ohana Link are amazing. They are stellar, authentic, intelligent humans determined to shift the conversation around domestic violence and how survivors can access services in those private and quiet moments when either they're in shelter or, they have a private, quiet moment away from their abuser. The safety features on it are outstanding. It's amazing of what it doesn't even look like what it is on the phone.
That's cool.
It's really cool. It's so stealth.
Yeah. And it needs to be. So it's amazing that you've got a team like that at your disposal to devise that, to work with you. And you just described those people as stellar and amazing. And I don't even remember all the words you used, but I just, as you were saying them, thinking that's what we need more of in this world is people like that.
Mm-hmm.
The kindness, the concern for those
Right.
who are in harm's way.
Exactly.
That's what you're all about.
Exactly.
And like you said, that money, it sounds like a lot, especially going from $15,000 to hitting $4 million. But isn't it amazing how fast it goes because there's so much need?
There's so much need. Me being transparent is I think I've cut myself one paycheck. I mean, the time and the cost of putting on campaigns like that is significant.
Yeah.
I'm making money with my public speaking engagements. I was able to reach over 55,000 employees last year by talking with different corporations about trauma-informed care. So I'm earning my money from those things. We're about ready to start drop shipping. We're about ready to start some pretty big money-making things because this world of grant writing, it is not for the faint of heart. And you are at the whim. And I am determined to find corporate sponsorships, and I've been finding them.
That's great.
At a time when donations were down, and we're getting people doing a wide array of unique things to fund us and to ensure that we can keep offering the level of services that we've been doing since the beginning.
Yeah. Bring us up to date on how the Last I'm Sorry and Feeling Small campaigns are doing.
They're doing great. We've had so many people that resonate with these campaigns because we talk about feelings. So it started with the Last I'm Sorry, and that's always going to be the microsite that people go to. It has several built-in safety features. The thing I love about the lastimsorry.com is it strictly is built around resources that you identify with. You get to say, I am a queer woman and I live in this area and I have a problem with this thing. And you will get 2 immediate and actionable solutions that you can take right now.
How cool is that? Wow.
Yeah. Men, women, people of color, people of the queer community, medically compromised people, English as a second language. That's who all we meet with that. That Last I'm Sorry, that campaign is what started us in Times Square. And that led to Feeling Small, which again, we're talking about feelings. How does a relationship make you feel? Because there's so many women that we talk to and men and people who are gender fluid who will never say they're being abused. I mean, Dave, I'm sure you've heard the stories where someone is strangled to the point of passing out, and they will still say, well, I mean, he doesn't hit me.
Yeah.
And again, I'm using male and female pronouns, but I know that this crosses genders.
Yes.
So when we talk about the feelings, that's what we get. We get both the good and the bad. We've gotten emails that say, I saw your campaign driving down the street. I'm reliving my childhood. We get that, which I hate to hear. And of course, I say, here's resources. Here's what you need. Let us know how you're doing. But the reality is when you talk about feelings, that allows people to recognize that what they've lived through or what they're currently experiencing are the hallmark red flags of abuse. So in doing so, we've been able to help over 15,000 people find the solutions that they need. And then we asked people to tell us how they rated those solutions. Were they helpful on a 5.0 scale? And we get a solid 4.9 ranking, and then what we do is helpful. That's pretty darn good. I'll sleep well at night on that.
Yeah, it's not surprising to me. It's just amazing what you are doing. You know, I hope in all of this, and how overwhelming it is to me to sit here and listen to it, and I'm sure to my audience are just in awe of what you're doing. I hope you're taking the time to admire Caroline and give yourself some credit. I mean, yeah, you took a break, but that's different than looking in the mirror and saying, yeah, I am truly saving lives, and I love it, and I'm going to keep doing it.
Well, with your gentle reminders every now and again, Dave, I'll keep doing it. I did. I had a great stellar achievement last week, and I had an afternoon pass. So my meeting ended about 3 that I received this stellar news. Instead of doing my to-do list, I grabbed my dogs. I grabbed a great big glass of ice water. We sat in the sun, and I just listened to my favorite music. I pet my dogs. I offered gratitude. I offered so much peace, and decided that for the rest of the day, I was going to sit in how happy I was at what had just happened. And so I'm doing that more and more, because historically what I've gone is, okay, that's great. I got 10 things on my to-do list. I don't stop. And now I'm making myself stop to enjoy those moments.
I love that. Self-care is so critical. I mean, if you're not taking care of yourself, how can you take care of others? And
right.
I just had a really great interview with Jessica Pride from the Pride Law Firm, and she was talking about how she had taken more time off in the last 2 years than she had in her entire law career, and that she's feeling great because of it. And so it is critically important. I think people need to hear this. Take a break. Not only take a break and do some self-care, but do some self-pride. Pat yourself on the back, even if it hurts your arm like me to reach back that far. Do it, because you're doing amazing things. And it sounds patronizing, and I don't want to be that or schmaltzy. What you are doing truly is, I said it a minute ago, and I'll say it again, what you're doing is saving lives. We, as the outsiders looking in at what Safe and Harm's Way and Epizon are doing, we thank you. And truly, truly appreciate your efforts and your work and what you're doing to help victims and survivors.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I am fortunate that I am Ron Markel's daughter. The man was a connector. His genes run through mine. Being able to tell a good story that is only steeped in the truth and be authentic in it is a gift I know I get from him. And so I love that part of me.
That's
and
awesome.
I really am trying to honor that part of me. I call it healing out loud, because I write about the really, really great days, and I also write about the bad days. A very dear friend called me and he said, look, I love that you are honest and authentic. That shows through. But do you really think that when you write about the bad days that you're doing yourself a favor? Like you're putting yourself back into a realm that is something you've already lived through. And I said, I could if I was playing the victim. But for me, in writing about the bad days, it's almost like the character that would have been the root cause of those bad days. That person doesn't come up in my head. It doesn't register. What registers is the sadness of the healing, or that component of healing, which is sad to go through. So I don't put myself back in that space because I am removed from that. But if I don't write about bad days, or I don't post when I wake up and my curly hair looks like, little orphan Annie has done way too many back alley drugs. It looks bad. If I don't post those, then I'm not being authentic. And if I don't post that it's bad, then that means that when someone else has a bad day, they think they're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Or they think they could be better at healing. Or they think, gosh, what's wrong with me that I can't get over it? And the reality is, I am a believer in that you should be actively healing all the time.
Yeah.
And that means you're going to have 150 great days in a row. And you might have a 4-day weekend where you lay in bed with your dog. Mm-hmm. That's still healing.
And my perspective on everything that you're saying, which, by the way, makes perfect sense to me, and I am very thankful for your authenticity and what you've been talking about. Also, the perspective that without having those bad days and acknowledging them and telling other people, yeah, I'm having a crappy day, it's not all a bed of roses. What it does is when you do have those good days, it makes the good days even better. Does
Truth.
It? Yeah?
Truth. Yeah, for sure.
I love listening to you. You are you're just an inspiration.
Thank you.
I'm so thankful that you are part of this podcast. I know people love hearing you and knowing what's going on.
I appreciate the opportunity. I spend a lot of time directing people to my episode with you. We were talking about earlier, I think it came out on Valentine's Day this year.
Right.
Of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So I direct people to that because that podcast I did with you was was the most raw, the most intimate, detailed experience of what it's like to discover that the person who claimed to love you was actually doing horrific things to you without your knowledge, without your consent, by drugging me, and what that looks and feels like when you discover it. That is now a way for me to say, just listen to that. And I don't have to tell my story out loud again.
Yeah.
And that gives everybody an insight into what that journey has been.
Caroline, that episode has been inspirational to many of my subsequent guests who have reached out to me and said, I want to tell my story because Caroline told hers. And if Caroline can do it and be in the process of healing in spite of all that she went through, then I need to be on that path too. I've probably gotten 4 to 5 guests who have been on because of your episode.
Well, thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you. I need to back off of this, telling you all this, because it's starting to sound really schmaltzy. Like
I'm soaking it all up, so
good?
Go ahead.
Good.
Yeah.
Glad to hear
In fact, if you just want to send me mini recordings, then when I'm having a really bad day, I'll just play it back on my phone.
Well, this is another one of those episodes that you can refer yourself to. I'm going to go listen to Dave. Tell me how great I am.
You're so kind. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Well, we have to do this again. It's been 6 months, but maybe we should make it 4 months or 3 months and get caught up again, because it sounds like things are rolling really fast and really big. And we're going to need another update really soon.
I think so. We'll make it happen, because then I can be able to maybe tell you a little bit more information about the big thing that's cooking and related to women's healthcare, and it's going to be really cool. I don't know when I'll be able to transparent with all those details, but you'll be the first to know.
Awesome. Yeah. So text me when you're ready to say, hey, I can talk about this now, because we'll make it an episode and we'll tell our entire SASS audience what's going on.
I definitely will. Thank you for the opportunity today. Thank you. And I appreciate the time and the effort to have the conversations and catch up. So I appreciate you very much.
Well, and I appreciate you, because you're the one who reached out to me and said, hey, we need to do a catch up. And you allowed me to throw in that let's make this an episode. So
it worked out well.
It has. And I love it. And I can't wait till we can do it again.
I agree. Thanks so much, Dave. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Caroline. You're a boost to this podcast, and I appreciate you more than I can say.
Well, thanks so much for your kindness. It's appreciated.
Okay. We'll talk again soon.
Sounds good.
That does it for another episode of Sexual Assault Survivor Stories, the SASS podcast. I can't thank Caroline Markel Hammond enough for her willingness to reach out to me and to agree to share with all of you our conversation of getting caught up, but also bringing exciting new paths that Safe in Harm's Way is taking with the new collaboration with Ohana Link Purple and the soon-to-be disclosed chapter of ongoing support for victims and survivors of interpersonal violence. Sexual Assault Survivor Stories will be among the first to bring you the news of that new phase of the ongoing support that Safe in Harm's Way provides. Stay tuned for that. In the meantime, if you're a victim or survivor of rape, sexual assault, or any other form of interpersonal violence and need help in staying safe and moving forward in your survival journey, contact Safe in Harm's Way. They are there for you and will help you find the resources you need to help you obtain the justice you deserve. Find them at safeinharmsway.org. Also, if you're a victim or survivor of rape or sexual assault and you feel you're ready to tell your story in order to help yourself on your own healing journey, or want to help others with theirs, email me at davemarkel@gmail.com. That's DAVEMARKEL@gmail.com. And we'll talk about the possibility of you being a guest on this show. Thank you for listening in on this episode. I would ask that you please subscribe to this podcast, rate this show, and tell others how we are here to help victims and survivors find justice. Encourage all your friends, family, and coworkers to tune in to Sexual Assault Survivor Stories, the SASS podcast. And finally, don't forget to start by believing, because we all know someone whose life has been affected by rape or sexual assault. We'll see you next week.